Wham! Talk 1600. You're catching the drift. Conservative talk. Intelligent conversations on local, state, and national issues with Gary Wellings, chief editor of the Current newspaper and Current Online. Join in the conversation at 734-822-1600. And now, your host, Gary Wellings.
Hey, and good Saturday afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to catch our drift. Joining me in studio, Ipsy Ed Bonderenka.
Hey, you pronounced that quite well. Thank you.
It seems like it, right?
Yes.
It's pretty easy. Phonetically, it's perfect, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, well, there you go. So, well, what we do on the Drift every Saturday is go over the news that I put on thedailydrift.com, and if you're not going there, you should. It's the
news you need to know.
Yes, thank you very much. That's perfect for you. So, well, let's... If you missed the show live with Ed and I, you can always catch it on podcast at Spreaker and YouTube and SoundCloud and on TalkAmericaRadio.us on Saturday and Sunday evenings as well. So
links on thedrift.com also.
Yeah, we archive it on thedailydrift.com, so it goes back to 2011. You can go all the way back and catch my very first show.
Catch him at all his mistakes. Just binge listen. Listen for how he was right and wrong.
Yeah. Well, am I ever wrong? Yes, I've been wrong. I don't remember the last election,
wrong.
I started out with Herman Cain, right? And
yeah.
They dropped one after the other.
Yeah.
This election, I was with Trump pretty much from the beginning. So, okay. Well, anyways, let's take care of a little business. La Casa is a great nonprofit up in Brighton, and they are having a grand opening of their store. They do lots of things for families. And next Friday through Sunday, that's September 8th, 9th, and 10th, they're celebrating a grand opening of their new La Casa collection. It's a new upscale resale store featuring furniture, home decor, jewelry, clothing, blah, blah, blah. And you can reach them at 517-445-5050. They are a very worthy cause to contribute to help out. And so if you can make that grand opening next week, give them a call, 517-445-5050. Or you can get details at La Casa, LACASA collection.org. Okay, there we go. Well, we've got, it's the first Saturday of the month, and like the sirens that go off all the time, we have Michigan 7th District Congressman Tim Walberg joining us today. Tim, welcome to the show.
Good to be with you.
Hey, Tim.
Yeah, so this is going to be a tough show, Tim. Lots to talk about. What do you got off the top of your head? That's something you want to get out so we don't miss it?
Well, I think we start the session again this coming Tuesday, and it is a full September, October that is lining up for us. You've heard all the talk. Now added to that is concerns about how we assist and what's the responsibility for and the priorities for Houston and the Texas communities that have been inundated with water at a level that maybe hasn't seen since the flood in many cases. So
yeah, well, that's what the once in a 1,000-year flood or whatever they said. I mean, it's not something you can really account for, I guess. Ed and I were talking before the show that do we have to bail out the insurance companies now? Because I have a deep-seated, like a lot of people, anger with insurance companies because you pay, and the only value add that they really deliver, because they don't do a whole lot, is pay for these instances. Yet it seems like every time there is a national disaster like this, the insurance companies got their hands out saying, we've been collecting all these years, but I don't know what we've been doing with the money because we don't have enough to take care of all the people. And I know that flood insurance isn't covered under most people's stuff, but it just irritates me that we never seem to learn our lesson.
Yeah, people need to buy the insurance if it's out there, and especially if they're building in a floodplain, as many have done, and that's a challenge to look at. And so we have to wrestle with that. We're going to be hearing from the president. We're going to hear from FEMA. We're going to hear from the states as well. Fortunately, Texas is a state that fiscally has set itself to some degree in order. They have a fairly significant rainy day fund that is used for things like this. So as we
rainy day fund,
yeah, I guess it's an appropriate term at this point in time.
Yeah.
But I think there is also the human issues that we deal with as American citizens. How do we support, encourage, and take care of some of the needs of our citizens who, in in some cases through no fault of their own, are put in a desperate situation. So that'll be something we'll be looking at. We'll be hearing reports, and there is no decisions made yet. We can't make those because we have to see the facts and statistics that come in along with the issues of human life itself. So that's one issue, but along with that is the plans to get through debt ceiling issue, get through a budget issue, and then ultimately get through appropriations process of 8 remaining appropriations bills that haven't been passed out of the 12. The first 4 were taken care of before our August in-district work period, and that dealt with defense, military, veterans, and homeland security, as well as $1.6 billion for the border wall that we passed, responding to the president's request in that area. So that all goes together.
Yeah. So now the House passed that, Tim. But did forgive my ignorance on this. Did we have the Senate's cooperation on that as well, or not?
Do you expect the Senate to cooperate?
Is this part of reconciliation?
No, that wasn't. This is not reconciliation.
Okay.
That was the Affordable Care Act repeal issue, and they didn't get that done. However, we hope that during their time back in the districts, the states during their August recess as well, they had the opportunity to hear from their citizens, and if they heard the same as I heard from mine, they need to get back here. They need to move a bill again to send to the House to put in the conference committee so we can move forward on that at the very least.
Yeah. How about you have Speaker Ryan take all you Republicans out of the House, because I know you won't get the Democrats come along, and just march to the other side of Capitol Hill and put up a few placards and make the statement, "Do your job, Mitch. Go to 51 votes. I don't care about the fear of Democrats coming." They would have done it. If they were in charge right now, they would be using 51 votes. And I don't know why this gutless McConnell just doesn't go and do 51 votes. If you pass an agenda that works for the American people, you don't have to worry about the Democrats coming back. And I don't understand, is he really a Democrat at heart? Is he really working to protect the establishment? Why won't he go to 51 votes?
Well, you're asking
Ryan.
You're asking Ryan to lead that group.
I want the House
towards McConnell, and that's problematic in itself.
I just want the House.
No, I don't think so. Now let's talk serious here. Ryan has gone to McConnell. Ryan has asked for that change, and many of us have done the same.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Remember, on the health care vote, it didn't need 60 votes. It only needed 51. And it was 48 Democrats and 3 Republicans, including John McCain.
Yeah. That you said, he is a Republican, I suppose. Yeah, okay.
Caused that to break down. So we're not talking about a need for 60 votes on that health care bill. We need 51. And so we have to get John McCain
out
or Susan Collins to come back and change their votes. Whatever it takes, that needs to be done. And it doesn't take 60 votes. It takes 51 because that was under reconciliation. Yeah. And that's the big issue there that we have to look at.
And that's still viable?
Pardon?
I'm sorry, I thought that was a dead issue. That is still viable?
That's still viable.
Thank you.
Wow.
That's still viable. And that's what I've been telling people in town halls all across my district these last 4 weeks in the district during the August in-district work period. Don't forget your senators. Call them. They are Democrats, yes. But they need to understand that the Affordable Care Act is melting down.
Yeah, and in our case, so it's our 2 pathetic senators, Debbie Stabenow and Gary Peters. If they were on the side of the American people, they could take the place of Benedict McCain and Susan Collins and change that, right?
Murkowski, right. They could do that. They could change that, and they ought to. I've seen them step up to the plate for the confirmation process of Joan Larson, who's been pushed forward by the president for a nomination and confirmation to the appellate court. Bench that's open. And both Peters and Stabenow have, to their credit, now released their blue slips, so the confirmation will begin. The hearings will begin this next week, in fact, when we come in. So that's a good step forward. So I would say be optimistic, do what citizens ought to do, and even contact your senators if they aren't of your party. Contact them, let them know where you're coming from, and that they need to at least advance the process, whether they support the type of change that will be put forward, yet it ought to go to a conference committee, and then Democrats and Republicans will sit at that conference table and hammer out a solution the best we can. And that's how it's supposed to work, not to a point where the Senate stops everything. It's supposed to slow things down. That's no problem with that. But ultimately, it can't just bring everything to a halt. And that's what they've done with this Affordable Care Act, repeal and replace. If they don't want to repeal it totally, fine. Then let's work on replacing what we need to fix it, to make it work for the American people. But you just can't sit on your hands and say, we will do nothing.
Yeah, which they're very good at, doing nothing. Well, let's talk tax reform a little bit, Tim. What's going on? Do we really have a shot at doing some? I mean, Trump said that once in a generation, we've got a shot at fixing this. Can we get some tax reform done before the end of the year?
Well, I believe we can, and that's been the position we've taken in the House for a year and a half now, and then getting the added benefit of having a president who was elected who says, I'll sign it if you get it to me, which is unusual. We haven't had that for the past 8 years. We have that opportunity. During the course of August, I'm told, and it was reported to us in a conference call last week with our entire House Republican conference, that the Senate leadership, the House leadership, and the White House, along with the Treasury Secretary and the President, are online together on the plan that's going to be laid out in detail for us coming up this Wednesday. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I understand it's basically the same principles that we've been following all along, reducing the overall burden across the board, taxpayers, going to a 3-rate setting, and that would be 15, 25, and 35. All the individuals and businesses I've talked with that would move to 15% tax rate would be in their glory, with great opportunities to expand businesses, to increase number of employees, to add benefits and opportunities, and do what the private sector does, and that's grow an economy. So that's where we look at reducing the number of deductions, exemptions, special benefits, and putting us more on a level playing field across the board with anybody that's capable of having a job and paying taxes, or having a business and paying taxes. So I'm looking forward to voting for it. Will it be perfect? No, absolutely not. There will be some negotiation. But on this, I think we can get some Democrats to support us, and hopefully we'll have enough Republicans so we don't have to go for too many Democrats, except the ones that are fair-minded and believe that they're representing their districts and trying to reduce the burden and the confusing nature of the present tax code that hasn't been reformed since 1986. So
this is something, those of us, a call to action for those of us here in Michigan, listeners of the show, readers of the Current. This is where we can get those phone numbers for Gary Peters and Debbie Stabenow, because she's up for re-election. So she really needs to find a way, because she may very well lose to Bob Young. And if there happens to be a Kid Rock run, I think for sure she would lose to him. But I think her seat is not safe. I really believe that, because I think Bob Young, as Joe, who calls us all the time, tells us all he needs out of Wayne County is 30%, and he's going to take the rest of the state. We could easily get Debbie Stabenow out. So if we can get some votes, get people to call her and tell her to get on board, or you are done in 2018. I hope she is anyways. But
it's a motivator in between now and then.
Yes, because, so that's something. And Derek, let's get phone number for Debbie Stabenow put up, and we'll use it after the break. But make sure you call all of your members of Congress, all the listeners that are hearing this program. Yeah. Wherever you are in the state of Michigan, or if you have friends and family in other parts of the state of Michigan, that you could get on track to call their legislators, House members, and Senate members as well. None of us are in safe districts. In this mood, this climate,
except
this
Debbie
economy,
Dingle. Yeah.
You need to realize all of us cannot count on the fact that we're in safe districts, and we need to be listening to the people. So don't let somebody else do it without you doing it. Each of your listeners ought to be doing that. Right.
And so let me ask you, Tim, and I know kind of in the back of your head you're thinking that, because we've had a few Republicans here in this state, congressmen, and they have not been, we talk all the time about compromise with the Democrats trying to get something done, and yet when we've got a House controlled by the Republicans and we have a Senate controlled by Republicans and a president that is Republican, and yet we've got a fractured Republican Party where we've got people like John McCain and Justin Amash and other people who are not going along to get along. They're not compromising at all. They're sticking to the things and keeping what should have been done in this first 6 months from being done.
There's no